Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's outside the door having a little kippy whippy. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things that you love with those you love to do them with. Guys, we've got some transfer news, views and clues for you. Apologies for the late one today. I've been out, been doing some family stuff. It's nice. Up in London, it was cold. But we're back. About to be over on Last Word on Spurs at 6 p.m. If this is up before then, I'm not entirely sure. But this should be a short one. Let's get into it. We've got Abdulkadir Kuzanov. We've got Kolo Muani. We've got Rodrigo Bentancur updates. We've got Heung Min's son, Heung Min daddy. We've got Daniel Levy. Some nice comments about him from Antonin and Victory Kinski. And we have Alfie Dorrington and Douglas Dougie Luiz. News, views and clues for you. Let's start off with Abdulkadir Kuzanov. Guys, £50 million bid, €50 million bid, apparently has been launched from Manchester City, apparently blowing everybody else out of the water, well above the asking price. City apparently looking to close the deal very, very soon. They're looking for the long-term replacement for Ruben Diaz, who is probably going to be sunsetting his career at Manchester City in the coming, whether it's the end of this season or next season, we're not entirely sure. German reporter Patrick Berger. I'm not sure if that's Patrick Berger of Liverpool fame or if it's just a coincidental name doppelganger. But either way, he's the one who dropped the story saying €50 million, as I say, larger, higher than most people thought. I was led to believe all last week that €20 million, €25 million was the asking price. But Man City have got money to spend. Maybe they're trying to get in ahead of the 115 charges, trying to get some future prodigies or whatever that are going to come in before that whole boat sinks, that whole rocking of the boat. The apple cart is upset. Either way, L'Equipe, French magazine, who obviously have a closer relationship to RC Lens than probably the German reporter Patrick Berger does. But either way, L'Equipe are saying that Tottenham and Newcastle, who are also monitoring the situation, have given up. As I say, I'm not a massive believer that this guy is the big deal that everyone says he is, but I'm also very happy to be wrong about it. It's a shame if he has gone to Manchester City, but obviously he is a player that is highly regarded and does fit with his pace and his versatility, does fit that bucket of teams that play with a high line. So if he's got away, are Tottenham going to move into a different direction? Are we going to look at a David Hanko? I would love to see it. Left side centre-back and a left full-back. Double pivot option there. Double pivot, not in the traditional frame, but I mean a double pivot in terms of double positional pivoting. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Smash the like button either way. Guys, Kolo Muani, well, the story out today is that story might also be dead. Juve apparently have stolen a march. Manchester United still sniffing around. Tottenham Hotspur still in and amongst it. But what we were led to believe on Wednesday evening was that we were closing in and the deal was almost about to be approved for some sort of loan deal. Well, today it seems like it's all being tracked back a little bit and Juventus is probably the most likely. But also Barcelona might be sniffing around. As I broke to you guys on the show yesterday, the post-match debrief show, Barcelona getting back into their 1-for-1 FFP rule. I'll do a video about that on the Sean Butler TV because I'm going to get that back going very soon. But Barcelona back in. They've got some sort of leverage with regards a triple investment. Remember, they had some sort of deal way back that they were going to get 50 or 60 million euros coming into their coffers by the way of that 10% media rights sale to the German company. I forget the name of it. That only ended up being 20 million. And now they've got some sort of triple deal with Spotify and another couple of companies, which again, I'll drop the details of on a non-Tottenham channel. But either way, Barcelona alongside that and apparently selling their VIP seats to a stadium that's not yet built, allegedly, has made them get back on the right side of their FFP. Wouldn't you believe it? Once again, Barcelona find a way round. And of course, in so doing, they are not only able to possibly get Dani Olmo on the books and the other players that were kind of not registerable, if that's even a word. I'm not sure that's a word. Registerable, it's not a word, is it? But you know what I mean? Incapable of being registered under the current frameworks. But they also now are able to look for left-wing options. And obviously, Kolo Muani is a typical striker, but can play in that versatile left-wing or right-wing situation. Obviously, Dani Olmo can do the same. But Barcelona apparently are looking for a traditional left-wing specialist. And of course, they have mentioned, as have PSG, the likes of Kvaratskhelia, if that's how you say his name. The Napoli legend that was a couple of years ago when he was playing with Osimhen, and those two just absolutely smashed it out of the park for Napoli. But you know what? His stock has fallen a little bit, and maybe there's the desire for him to leave Napoli this January potentially, and maybe he's going to go to a big club. I don't know why Tottenham don't put their name in the hat for that particular transfer. He's a bit better fit for us, I think, than Muani is. And if we can go after a player like Muani, why can't we go after a player like Kvaratskhelia? We have the money. Money is always a big draw. And of course, don't forget, guys, I say this tongue-in-cheek, but if you're a player that wants to win a trophy, then the one thing you can absolutely know for certain is that if you come to Tottenham, you're going to win a trophy. You might just not win it at Tottenham. You might have to wait a few years until you leave. But within 6 months of leaving, you're probably going to win a trophy. Just ask Emerson Royal. Anyway, Kolo Muani, it's not dead. It's not done. It's not over. But the story today is that it's less likely than it was 24 hours ago. We shall see. Let's keep it open. Let's keep the options open. We don't know really what's going to go on there. Let's move on. Rodrigo Bentancur. In the pre-match press conference for Tamworth, Ange Postecoglou said he's back, he's at home, and he's better, he's feeling good, which is great news, wonderful to hear, but that we have to go through the concussion protocols, and he thought that the players did a really good job of getting themselves together after the initial instance, because obviously it's distressing and obviously unnerving as a player to see your teammate go down, but also just that kind of fear, I guess, of like, what does this mean? What does it look like, the not knowing what the problem was? Maybe bringing back Ericsson vibes. It turns out it was just a concussion and that he should be okay, but he can't play for Tamworth or against Tamworth because of the concussion protocols. I believe it's either 7 days or 2 weeks. Either way, another big hit for Tottenham and Ange Postecoglou's midfield issues, which leads me, let's bring this forward. Douglas Luiz. Juventus signed Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa for 45 million euros, I think it was, in the summer. He's not been playing. He hasn't settled in, I guess, and he's not necessarily desired there. And Juventus need to raise money to make things happen. If they are they trying to get Kolo Muani? Maybe do they need Douglas Luiz to go in the first place? Now, for me, guys, I've got to be honest. I have been calling, as you know, if you watch this channel, I've been calling for the need for a monster number 6 for 3 years, or 2 years. I absolutely still see it as a quintessential part of an ingredient that makes the cocktail better, makes it taste a lot better to see Ange playing in this particular vision with a proper 6 to sit there. Now, over the last few days, I've sat there and thought about it and gone, well, maybe our future midfield problems are absolutely fine. You've got Lucas Bergvall, that for me is a better 8. Then he is a 10 in my first initial sample. So I'm open-minded about changing that opinion if there's more demonstrations of his guile and his ability to get forward. But right now, from what I've seen, I think he's a better 8 than he is a 10. Obviously, we have Archie Gray that will eventually, hopefully, move forward into that 6 role. And so I look forward and think, well, you've got those two. You've got Pape Sarr. You've got Bentancur. Kulusevski can drop in that role maybe in the future as well. There's loads and loads of options. And obviously, the youth team as well that we've got coming through can all sort of do jobs in and around there. So I'm not worried about the long-term viability of our midfield. In fact, I'm very, very confident in it. I think it's going to be a sensational group of players that are going to develop together over time. However, in the short term, I think that there is absolutely a need for someone to come in. And Douglas Luiz ticks all of the boxes. The idea that he is available is like just wowzers. I can't understand why Tottenham are not chomping all over that one. Now, apparently Paratici is the one who brought that to Tottenham's attention, but maybe I've heard through the people that spend a lot of time on my channel that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to kind of reference this in public, but that apparently that there's yes from Paratici and no from Langer and Ange. And I don't understand why either of them would say no to that if that is true. I think that Douglas Luiz is an absolute perfect fit. He's got all of the tenacity, all of the strength, all of the guile, all of the passing ability, the 92, 93 percentile. He can get a goal or two as well. Just absolutely sensational for Aston Villa. He's got Premier League experience. He's only just gone to Juve. And Juve, it's not working out just yet. Now, he has come out and said that, or at least his agent has come out and said that he's not particularly interested in leaving right now. He wants to stay and fight for his place and figure it out, and he's happy at Turin. And I get all of that. But where the rubber meets the road, obviously, is that you have, the World Cup not too far away. You have the kind of need for minutes. You have a situation where if you're not playing, it's not going to necessarily work out. And if Juventus need to raise funds in order to finance certain moves for certain players that they're looking for, such as potentially Kolo Muani, then listen, if you're looking for 2 options, then for me, I would say strike a deal with Juve and say, we'll get out of the way on the Muani situation and we'll take Douglas Luiz off your hands. Even if it's a loan with an option or an obligation, the guy's a brilliant fit. That can make a lot of conversations a little bit easier with regards to the future of either a Rodrigo Bentancur or a Bissouma, both of whom I think are great players, and one of whom I think needs to be moved on. And despite Bissouma's heroics against Liverpool, I still maintain that he isn't the right fit for the role that we need in the long run. He hasn't really materialised as the best player that we thought he was going to be since his move from Brighton. And if there needs to be sort of room made available, whether that's now or maybe more likely in the summer because of our injury crisis, I don't think we really have the ability to move anyone on right now. But for me, Douglas Luiz coming in ticks every single box. In terms of that monster 666, the beast, that's exactly what I'm looking for in a player is Douglas Luiz. And like I say, him coming in at his age, it's not going to get in the way of the young players. There's going to be times when the young players need to play, other times when they need to sit and learn. And Douglas Luiz is a wonderful player. Now, one of the reasons why Douglas Luiz was so happy at Juventus, or the prospect of going there, was because he has teammates that play for Brazil in Juve. Now, that same argument could be made for Tottenham Hotspur, right? Richarlison's here. So I believe that there is a lot of logic. I think there's a lot of good fit. And if there is a way that you can kind of have that conversation with Paratici being the go-between and saying, you know, if you want Kolo, maybe this makes more sense. I don't understand if it's true that why Langer and why Ange doesn't see the value, but for me, it's just the kind of the closest thing to a Rodri of that level down that I think that makes the most sense. He's a brilliant player, brilliant passer, brilliant in the tackle, scores goals. He connects the dots. He's a tempo master. He can control the play, and he's got a brilliant vision on him. So it's a win-win for me if it can happen. At the same time, if the Kolo Muani deal is looking stretched anyway and we're looking in other directions, then again, if we're trying to make the money work here, it's always a game of economics, this stuff. And I would look back at Jonathan David, and the rumours are today, despite on Monday night, on Last Word on Spurs, Ben Jacobs, shout out to him, great guy, love that conversation with Ricky. Ben Jacobs, when I asked him about Jonathan David, Ben Jacobs said there isn't any rumours really since the summer when we made an inquiry about Jonathan David, that there's nothing really new about that story. But in the press today, not in the caliber of sort of journalistic article or media outlets, I guess, that have as much, I say integrity is the wrong word, but as much strength of word as, say, what Ben Jacobs can deliver. They're saying that Jonathan David to Tottenham is back on again, and that story is kind of back in the zeitgeist. And I've changed my mind about Jonathan David. I've never really understood the value. I always thought he doesn't really make sense, doesn't work hard enough. But of what I've seen of him recently, he is working harder in a different sort of system for Lille. He can play in a variety of different positions, even though he's an out-and-out striker predominantly. But his pace, his work rate, his effort, his ability to smash the ball left and right, he can finish. And he is a guy whose numbers you can't hate. Everywhere he's gone, at every level, Champions League, Europa League, French League, Canada, he does hit the numbers consistently that are just things you can't deny. And if Tottenham need people that can hit those numbers to help us get to that back to that situation where we're going to score one more than you, then someone like Jonathan David, who has all of that track record, for me makes a lot of sense. And like I say, if it's a way of getting the, finding out a resolution to our need for a striker, a need for some support for Dominic Solanke, not knowing about the injury proneness of Richarlison, is he going to break down again? We really hope not. I'm not a huge believer of Richarlison's quality anyway. I think if you watch the channel, you know that I'm not a massive fan of his, and I do want to see us bring in someone of higher caliber. And Jonathan David, for me, makes sense. He's out of contract in the summer, so maybe you could go to Lille right now and make some sort of arrangement where you make them an offer they can't refuse at the risk of losing them for free in the summer. I don't understand why we wouldn't do that, and especially if we can go and get Douglas Luiz, whether it's on a long-term loan or otherwise, that to me makes the most sense. In terms of other things that makes a lot of sense, Alfie Dorrington, Ange has been asked about him, why isn't he getting any minutes? And basically what we've got here is a kind of an acknowledgement that Dorrington probably is a tactical mismatch, at least for the time being. Ange has said that he needs to get some minutes, and that he'll probably go out on loan. So that probably answers the question around why it is that he hasn't been getting the minutes when we've been looking at it. Why is it we've gone for people like Bissouma in centre-back ahead of him? Why is it we've gone for Jed Spence at centre-back ahead of him? Why is it we've gone for Archie Gray at centre-back ahead of him? Obviously, Ange looks at the player and thinks he's not ready for Tottenham, whether it's tactically or just skillfully, technically. He's not mature enough. He's not quite there yet, which will be, an interesting one for a lot of people. Dave sort of brought to my attention on yesterday's show that Alfie Dorrington has also had a lot of injuries over the last 18 months, which has sort of slowed down his progress. A lot of surgery, I think it was, on his hamstring. And so that maybe explains part of the absence. But obviously, Ange today saying he's going to go out on loan. I think that kind of tells you where he's at in the pecking order. Let's get to the last story for you guys. Oh, two last stories, sorry. Heung Min's son, Martin Allen, journalist Martin Allen, has come out and said that he believes that Heung Min's son will be sold in the summer for between 10 to 15 million pound. That the contract extension was really a formality, but ultimately it just kicked the can down the road. And they didn't want Sonny to leave or sign a pre-contract agreement for free now to go somewhere else. But ultimately, that in the summer, Tottenham will look to cash in because they think that he is probably, his best days are behind him. And at 10 to 15 million pounds, you kind of soften the blow of losing out on that shirt sale situation, which, again, at some point, that's going to happen. But if you're looking for valuation on a player that's clearly not quite at his best, then what are you going to get? And Martin Allen suggests 10 to 15 million pounds. I don't know what the right number is. I know that the right number in terms of the impact on our revenue in the club shop, in the kind of VIP seats, all of those things is going to be significant. But that's going to happen anyway. I guess from Daniel Levy's perspective, he's looking at Yang and thinking, is there a way that we can like hybrid this whereby when Sonny is sort of tailing off and kind of at the end of his time at Tottenham, as a player at least, then will Yang be able to sort of take on the baton and sort of maintain that ability to nurture what is a very vital and very well-received and loyal side of our fan base from the Korean market. Look, it's the A, B's and C's of economics. Of course, it's going to be a consideration. A 10 to 15 million pound sale, I'm not sure I believe it. I personally think that Sonny will be here for the entirety of his contract, and then there'll probably be some sort of other relationship, whether it will be a player coach role, something else, or maybe an ambassador. Maybe Sonny will utilize some of his networks that he's built up over in Korea with regards to the foundations and the footballing schools and things. Maybe that will be a pathway for Tottenham to tap into to try and make sure that we always have one foothold in that market as a way to try to get the best talent coming through there. Either way, I don't expect Sonny to be leaving Tottenham any time soon. And the last story for you guys, of late, I feel like I've been going after Daniel Levy a little bit more than I would usually be sort of prone to doing. I called out yesterday the fact that Tottenham have decided to sell the players' shirts, the worn player shirts from the Liverpool game, and that Tottenham Foundation, the Twitter handle Tottenham Foundation, obviously a charitable arm of the club, decided to put the tweet out saying that you can bid for the, sort of participate in the auction to see if you want to win those shirts, but only part of the proceeds will be going to the foundation, which I find just incredible. I don't know the details, and I might be wrong to be calling this one out, but if it's only a little bit of the money that's going from the auction towards the foundation, where's the rest of it going to? Are we really looking to sell worn shirts now to participate in our revenue stream generation? Does it really make that much difference? Couldn't you just give all the money to the charity? Come on, Tottenham. Think bigger picture. See the wood for the trees. It's not all about that stuff. Not all of it. Tucked down to the kind of nickel and dime. It seems a little bit silly. But I've got a story for you, which is maybe going to be back to old Sean Butler, always defending Daniel Levy. We've got a story here, some quotes from Antonin Kinski, who talked about why it is that he joined Tottenham Hotspur. And he said that part of the rationale was the persuasion of a certain Daniel Levy. Let me see if I can get it up for you. Pause. He said, here we go. He and his agent certainly didn't see such a scenario. With Kohler revealing Kinski was persuaded to join Tottenham Hotspur by Daniel Levy. Quote, "We would not have written such a scenario even in our dreams," he told Sporting Bet. I think this is the agent Kohler. He said, "I have to admit that I wanted to experience that beautiful story again, that a footballer would be born with whom you would help raise for a world-class club, that it would make sense for you to devote your time, capacity and energy to him from the very beginning." Not sure what that is. Tottenham has a great team that takes care of the newcomers. 5 or 6 people who speak all of the world's languages. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Didn't know that. I'm not sure if that's a common theme across all football clubs. Probably is at the top level, but nice thing to know. Daniel Levy, the owner of Tottenham himself, convinced him, he added, when asked who had persuaded the youngster's father, who had initially been sceptical, to agree to the move. That same day, on New Year's Eve, he sent a message that he was flying to Prague on January the 1st. We met in our office in Pankratch. After 3 hours, it was agreed. I was so moved by how the father gave his son his blessing. Go ahead, I trust you. After the meeting, he was sure that the move was the right one. So Daniel Levy responsible for getting this deal over the line. We don't know yet whether Tony Kinski is going to be an absolute superstar for Tottenham. First impressions, though, were fantastic at the stadium. Everyone absolutely adored it when he was like left foot, right foot, picking the ball up and flinging it. Everyone was right behind him. What some absolutely great saves as well. But Daniel Levy involved in that deal. Daniel Levy also utilising his relationship to get involved with the PSG sort of top guy in the Qatari group that QSI that own PSG, nurturing that relationship. We'll see what happens. We obviously know Daniel Levy got involved in the Jed Spence deal. Jed Spence, 3 years after plan, has become an emerging talent for Tottenham. What I would say, guys, it's obviously nice that Daniel Levy has the ability to persuade these people. Great. But also at the same time, just to be completely blunt, we were all under the impression that Daniel Levy is trying to step back a little bit from transfers, from getting involved. That was the whole point of Scott Munn, was it not? That was the whole point of Johan Lange and Fabio Paratici. We got all of these cooks. Not enough Indians? Are we going back to that phrase again? Well, I can't remember. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Too many cooks, spoil the broth. I finally got it. But Daniel Levy was supposed to be taking his hands off the reins, but clearly he can't. Clearly he is just too damn invested and too much of a lover of a negotiation where he believes he's the draw And look, sometimes it obviously works. What we don't hear about is the stories where it doesn't work. And maybe Daniel Levy's insistence on being the kind of the guy that gets the seal of approval from whatever parties need to be convinced. Is he the guy that should be doing that? Or is Ange Postecoglou the guy that should be doing that? Or is the director of football's role really the guy who should be doing that? You don't need to do everything, Daniel. And let's be honest, mate. You're a brilliant businessman. And maybe this is a win. And I'm happy to see it. Happy to give you a pat. But if you're doing it on this deal and Jed and Molo Kwani, you're probably doing it on all the others as well. And there's so many ones that got away over the years that maybe your role in the negotiations isn't always the benefit that these stories would have us believe. Either way, guys, that's the stories for you today. Little one, a little cheeky. I don't know how 20 minutes have passed. It shouldn't be that long, really. It's not that much to talk about. But for me, Douglas Luiz, get it done. Get it done. I don't like the idea that we have got the option through Fabio, but that for whatever reason, other people at the club don't seem to see the value. To me, he is absolutely top drawer and absolutely what this system needs. Let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,